Hey, it is your AI guys. It is Ken Peel along with Sagar Pandya from Spej.ai. Welcome, and welcome if you're just checking this out for the first time. We appreciate you being along with us. Now, we've brought some other faces and voices in on this particular episode. We've got the rest of the Spej.ai team with us, which will do some introductions here in just a minute or so. But, Sagar, last time after we finished up doing the podcast, we said we didn't even say who we were. And so we thought, well, let's go ahead and do that today. So, Sagar, who are you and what do you do with Spej.ai?
Thanks, Ken, for the intro. My name is Sagar Pandya. They know me as Sagar like Lager. I am one of the co-founders and the CEO of Spej, and really excited to be able to share some of the building in public mentality. Based in Chicago, adrenaline junkie, motorsports guy, obviously love AI stuff, and I just love yapping. So that's my role here, Chief Yapper.
Chief Yapper. I like it. So myself, I'm the Director of AI Solutions and Quality, plus the host of this podcast, which we like to call Prompt First, Ask Later. And I'm excited too, Sagar, because after we recorded last episode, we were able to get also the audio versions of our podcast on Spotify and also Apple Podcast as well. So if you want to listen to the audio, maybe you're driving somewhere and you want to listen to it, you can check it out that way as well. Or on our YouTube channel, we also have a website, which we'll give in just a bit as well. So let's go ahead and start introducing everybody else. Let's go with Alex. Alex Krutik is with us as well. Alex, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Hello, everyone. So I am Alex Krutik. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Spej and a co-founder. And what do I do? Well, it's more of what I don't do. As we say, herding the cats, including myself. That's how I would put it. And keeping us all aligned to go forward. And keeping in touch with our clients, incredible clients that we have. And we have a bench of very experienced individuals here. So it actually makes my job very easy.
Yeah.
But that's what I do in a nutshell.
That's very cool. Sean Blair is with us as well. So Sean, tell us about your involvement with Spej.ai and all about you.
Okay, awesome. My name's Sean Blair. I'm the Chief AI Officer here at Spej and also a co-founder. And I get to do AI work and development all day. And it's incredible. And night too, yes. Verified night owl. I love the work we do. I love building with AI. It's incredible how fast and how high quality you can build things these days with these tools. And it's just a very exciting time to be involved in serving clients.
Yeah, very cool. And last but not least, Joseph Kim is with us as well. Joseph, tell us a little bit about you and what you do with Spej and what's on your heart today.
Thanks, Ken. And thanks, Sagar. Congratulations to you both for hosting this new podcast venture. Great episode last week. I found it really informative. See where this goes. I'm excited to be on. So Joseph Kim again, and I am currently the Director of AI Consulting and Delivery at Spej, and just really glad to be part of this team. I have a very eclectic background that spans a lot of different sectors, a lot of different industries, markets, verticals, etc., and kind of a jack of all trades, a generalist really. So glad to be a part of this team. And as the Director of AI Consulting and Delivery, I essentially serve as the operational point person for projects and once they get going and those client engagements.
Yeah. Very cool. So last time on the podcast, Sagar kind of laid out the roadmap for how businesses, should start with AI. And that's all based on an article that you can find on his LinkedIn page if you want to do a search for that, real informative stuff. But today I thought we'd dive into a little bit of the nuts and bolts, if you will, of who we are as Spej.ai, what we do, and how we can maybe hopefully benefit you and your company as well. So let's start off a little bit and talk first. Alex, I'd like you to kind of outlay for us, if a client comes to us and they say, I don't know a lot about AI, but I'm interested in it and I want to get involved, my business involved in it. What does that look like for us at Spej when somebody comes to us and maybe says that to us?
I think a lot of listeners would probably resonate with that question. I think when I think of why I wanted to join, Spej and partner with both Sagar and Sean is to really drive the tool set, the incredible tool set that we have called AI. And I frankly myself was unsure what exactly AI could do. As somebody that spent over 15 years in corporate America, as a practitioner of kind of traditional consulting, traditional spreadsheet grind, PowerPoint grinds, and all the typical tools. And so the real question of how do you get involved, how do you start, it's really starts with a diagnosis of what problem you have, what are you trying to solve. And that's why we have a discovery process we go through. Now we have a lot of knowledge and tool sets from our past that we can recommend, but certainly what we do is we listen. That's the real skill set I think you start to acquire with experience. You listen to the issue that the folks have, and then we go through our discovery process of really identifying what we can offer and what we can do.
Yeah. Sagar, let me ask you real quick. What do you think is one of the common misconception that somebody might come up with about incorporating AI and what it can actually do for them, for us to work together?
I hear this everywhere in the industries that we serve. It's like really interesting when Alex brought up the need to do like a diagnosis or like a discovery, right? Like a health check. It's like super interesting, man. People come up to us and say, we're not a tech company. We don't need this AI stuff, right? We're not doing something bleeding edge and super innovative. We don't have the capability. We're not technical engineers that need to do crazy implementations and change a lot of technology. That's just what I hear. And it couldn't be further from the truth. And I write about this in my book. And you guys hear about this all the time because I yap about it every day here and on LinkedIn and on all the messaging apps that we're using. AI is not a technology problem. It's a cultural problem. So the biggest misconception is people think they need to be this highly technical, highly IT driven organization in order to take advantage of anything AI related. It's not true. In fact, it's quite the opposite. We have seen some incredible AI use cases emerge outside of anything that's technology related. It's simple, mundane process recreation. And for those that are listening, you don't have to have a heavily staffed IT department. You don't have to have a perfectly written technology playbook. You don't have to have really bleeding edge infrastructure or technology to take advantage of AI. You just have to have the willingness and a curiosity. And if you can show up with that, our job at Spej is to figure out the tech part of it, which I would argue, man, like the tech stuff is easier than the cultural perceptions that we have to change at the clients that we operate in.
Yeah.
And we all talk about this internally, but finding the folks that are hesitating or are a little pessimistic about it, that's a story for another podcast, by the way, and what we
Yes.
call that. But if we could get to that sooner, we have a much better opportunity to then create some really great outcomes from an AI perspective. So
Yeah.
no, you don't have to be technical. Let us handle that. Just show up curious and just be willing to have a conversation. We can make some magic happen for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of making magic happen, Sean, let's talk a little bit about your aspect of what, when you approach a client. And I know you've had consultancy experience, you've had management experience and programming experience. Tell us a little bit about when we go into a meeting with a client and they're asking some questions about AI and what it can do for them. And what is your first thought? Where do you go with them to really kind of draw out, is there a need there?
I always start from sort of a business process engineering perspective. And what that'll mean is I'm looking for opportunities where they either need intelligence or they have repetitive processes they're doing either manually or semi-manually.
Can you give me an example, just real quick, of maybe something that they do repetitively?
Yeah, so a repetitive task could be analyzing information that's in PDF files or perhaps parsing information from different data sources and then typing them into another place where there needs to be some intelligence behind it, but it's really doing the same kind of operation over and over again. On the other side, when you want to build intelligence, a good use case for this, one that we're looking at right now, is for actuary. When you need information about like rate filings and different types of competitive analysis, that it's really great for that kind of use case as well.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today. This is the Prompt First, Ask Later podcast with Spej.ai. And Alex, let me turn to you for just a second. Joseph, I'll get to you in a minute. I got some questions for you. But Alex, Sagar, and I last time talked about putting up guardrails as well within people's data and within building something for a company. I know you've had a lot of experience in that area as well. Talk a little bit about that and what we go through to help make sure things are secure and that things aren't leaking out that shouldn't be leaking out.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that I think everyone should be considerate about is really governance, security. The technology of AI is phenomenal. The question is what happens with your data and how you use it. And so there are a couple steps that clients can take, and we certainly take as we take security and privacy very seriously at Spedge. Just plugging into a traditional tool is not going to be sufficient to have security in place. And that's something that I think a lot of companies and a lot of folks that are early on in their journey of AI may not realize. So just like having kind of your guardrail around any process, any information that you don't want to be touched and seen by someone else has to be considered. And it's also about users, right? You may have large organization sizes, you may have contractors, you may have other vendors. And you want to be considerate as to how the information gets used. What do the tools get used for? As some of these models are extremely powerful and they can be used in in a lot of great ways, which is what we at Spedge here promote and do. And there's others that could take advantage of these tools to exfiltrate information. And so putting the right controls and governance is something that has to be done upfront to prevent issues down the road.
Yeah. We kind of talked a little bit about the process of what we go through when we talk to clients, potential customers to bring AI into their organization. We talked about the discovery process and we talked about finding out where their pressure points or their bottlenecks are. But Joseph, your role too is really kind of to guide them through the whole project plan, holding their hand, so to speak, of where do we go next? What do we need from you? How can we make this work? Are there any problems? Things along those lines. Talk a little bit about your experience and maybe even a success story if you've got one. You don't have to, but and how that process has worked for you and benefited others.
Thanks, Ken. So in many respects, um, an AI project is not unlike any other project and the management that's involved with that, whether it's constructing a building or building an application back in the ancient times of when you just build desktop applications and the new era that we're in with AI applications. And so there's, as you're mentioning, a discovery process and a stakeholder interview process, and et cetera. But in that respect, there's a lot of similarities to how a project is run. So we'll have, for example, in a 5-week engagement, in week 1, we will have a kickoff meeting, stakeholder scheduling, data access requests, pre-interview questionnaires in week 1 to 2, follow-up stakeholder interviews, process mapping, data readiness assessments, that sort of thing. Weeks 2 to 3, feasibility, ROI modeling, that sort of thing. And then weeks 4 to 5, then we are actually building the product because it all happens at a very fast pace. In a discovery engagement, we would finalize the report, present the findings from that report to the client. For a 5-week engagement, it might look structurally something like that. The big difference, I think, is that everything moves faster because we're talking about a tool that accelerates in 10x's, 100x's everything. And so our projects typically are just that much quicker and that much faster because we really want to leverage AI in terms of how we work, but also get it into the hands of our clients as quickly as possible. So just a quick success story. For example, we worked with this financial services firm to help to leverage AI as a small, quick, but very effective win in terms of how they service their clientele. And we built an AI-based product for them and delivered that. And now they're beginning to utilize that and improve their customer service metrics and their quality of customer care as a result of that. And this all happens in the matter of weeks, not months, not years, but just weeks.
Yeah, that's very cool. I mean, one of the taglines, Sagar, that we like to use is AI is fast, but we're faster.
Yeah.
Just simply because things are changing each and every day. Like we mentioned in the last podcast that we did, it's so incredible that this technology is just exploding right now. But there might be a business that maybe AI isn't right for. Let's talk about that a little bit, Sagar. Can you say, something that somebody that's wanting to invest in this, but maybe they're not ready yet. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think excellent dialogue, and hopefully everyone watching likes the format. We're experimenting. We're trying some new stuff.
Yeah.
So give us any feedback in the comments for YouTube. Hit us up on our socials. Love to hear
Yeah.
from
What do
all
you
of
want to
you.
know about? Yeah.
What should we talk about? And if you want to be on the show, we'd love to interview you and have you talk about your industry expertise. Doesn't have to just be us yapping, right, on our podcast.
Yeah,
So we're
right.
open to anybody. So let us know if you want to jump on. Of course, Joseph, Alex, Sean, Ken got great insights. I think from like an AI capability standpoint, I believe that every person in every company in every industry on earth has the potential to leverage the power of artificial intelligence in different levels of speed. There are some things still, as of this recording, which can absolutely change at any time, that still require human intuition and connection. So, Ken, to answer your question directly, I think if you're trying to build relationships with other human beings, either from a lens of customer service, sales, trust, partnership, I think that still has to happen human to human. And I think what that's leading to is a lot more in real life stuff that happens. I can't tell you the amount of success we get at Spej when we jump on a plane or jump into a conference room or go grab a meal with somebody and talk about AI versus just doing it virtually. So I think anything that's like human intuition, relationships, connection, just being with people, as of now, I don't think that can easily be replicated by a machine. And I really think like there's this conversation of anything that's blue collar, physical stuff that has to happen. Again, as of this recording, robots probably will come at some point, Terminator status. But as of 2026, there's no clear pathway to mass producing and commercializing robotic capability at a price that's not cost prohibitive. So I think anything blue collar, you talk your trades, you talk about anything that requires humans to do things in a coordinated effort to work together. I still think we're quite a ways away from doing something that's related to physical stuff, but that could change, man. And there's people working extremely hard 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Ken. And kind of the seat that you sit in, you see this stuff, right? Front row. Where's your head at? How are you thinking about AI given that you've just recently come into this organization, right? And you're learning. Has there been like a perspective that you're seeing that's pure?
Yeah.
What are you guys thinking from an industry standpoint once Ken finishes his thought?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that was where I was going next is what's some of the different things that we're seeing in the news now, things that are popping up each and every day, stories about AI and how it's being used. For me, in the last 9 months, I would say the ability and learning the ability of what AI can do for people, not just companies, but individuals as well, to really improve how they do things. I've used AI most recently to create a whole plan to build cabinets for my kitchen because we've been rebuilding our house after a house fire and I needed a plan to build these cabinets. And it came up with a whole cut sheet for how much plywood to use and cut out and what pieces go where when you're cutting it out and a whole plan. I mean, that's just a small thing that you can use it for, but that would have taken me hours, literally hours to come up with a plan like that and figure out how much material I'm going to need without wasting money on going and buying too many sheets of plywood. So, I mean, there's things like that, and we've seen how from taking a picture on a wall, inputting it to AI, having it come up with a whole PowerPoint presentation and even a podcast from a picture on the wall that we inputted to AI, that just blew me away. And so this ability for us to really think outside of the box and try it is where we're at today. I think that we're really, almost whatever you can dream up, I think AI can incorporate that or use it or build on it or create it. And it's really pretty impressive as to what it can do. Guys, what about you? What's something that's on your hearts about that?
Yeah. Ken, I agree with you. I just recently was at Home Depot in the plumbing section and I saw a plumber that had a picture from his customer and he was plugging into ChatGPT to figure out the size of piping he would need to create a list of items he has to buy. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, That's incredible. So it's a tool that probably saved that plumber a visit to someone's house, and being able to get that, it's incredible. I think that what gets me excited is that a lot of these tools that may have existed in some form a few years ago were accessible only to, large organizations. And what I mean by is for something like processing something that Sean talked about earlier, able to snap a PDF, being able to comprehend it and then use it. So I know years ago when there was a big push towards creating shared service environments for large organizations, that was something that was very difficult for smaller companies because it was resource heavy. You had to have certain volumes, and the access to some of the RPA technology was still high. It's expensive. I think with AI, you truly have created a democratized way of having the access tools to a much broader much broader organizations, and in that making it organizations much more competitive to some of the legacy large companies that just had the resources and the technology costs they could sustain it. So I think that's very exciting, and I think that is going to drive a lot of innovations outside of technology, and being able to come up with new medicines, better materials, all kind of things. So I'm super pumped, and think that it will serve a lot of industries in advancing their needs.
Yeah. Sean, you had something?
Yeah, he asked a question too about where should AI not be used. I loved Sagar's answer for that, and it got me thinking about a recent case study. There's a perception that it shouldn't be used in certain places like medicine, and I read this case study about differential diagnoses that doctors use. And if you don't know what that is, if you go in, you present with certain conditions like a fever and a rash or something like that, or maybe a cough. Those things are used to try to figure out. They go through this differential diagnosis process to figure out what your root problem is. And this case study I read showed that AI was more accurate than high-end doctors. However, there's such pushback from the medical community on using these because it's impersonal, for a myriad of reasons why. But I guess my takeaway from that was, don't be afraid of using AI in your organization because it's scary maybe, or maybe you're worried about jobs. Think about it more from the people you serve, that perspective. Like, I would love to have AI be used for differential diagnosis if I'm going to the doctor, because, maybe the doctor's having a bad day, or maybe he didn't get enough sleep, or something or maybe he's influenced by pharmaceutical companies or something like that. AI is not influenced in that way. It doesn't get tired. Doesn't have bad days. Companies that use them do sometimes, but that's a different topic.
Yeah, that human element is so important in terms of thinking through this. That's why, Sagar, your framework about the AI culture is so important. Like that human element. I'm going to use another example, like autonomous vehicles, right? We know that that's coming at some point, and
They're here, by the way. Do you see the Waymos in Chicago? They're
yeah,
here, man.
There you go. There you go.
They're ready. They're in River North right now.
Have you had food delivered to you autonomously with those little robot R2D2
Coco
things
robots?
Yeah.
Those little Coco bots?
Yeah.
Dude, I see them everywhere in the West Loop. If you come, they're just like driving around each other. It's interesting.
At some point, teenagers are going to start like cow tipping them and stuff. I can imagine that. But when you think through that, right, the autonomous vehicles, like there's of course a concern about accidents and things like that. And there was a case where someone died, I think, in the Bay Area a year or two back. And that's a tragedy and that's unfortunate. But when you compare that to Sean's point, using autonomous vehicles, when you compare that statistically to human drivers, it's not even close.
It's not even a speck of
sand. Not even close.
Yeah.
And admittedly, the left side brain of me says, I would rather, because I take Ubers a lot, I'd rather go into an autonomous vehicle and get to my destination, and I would have a much better statistical chance of arriving there safely. However, the right side brain of me, the human side brain, says, hold on, this is creepy. I'm like I'd be tense and holding on for dear life as I get into this vehicle. But that divide, that bridge is something that has to happen culturally, but also has to happen personally. So a lot of that is not a problem of AI. It's a problem of I wouldn't say it's a problem. It's an issue of culture. It's an issue of mindset. It's an issue of
Acceptance.
framework and paradigm.
Yeah.
So AI is here and it's a lot more capable than you think, except that we're not caught up in terms of the way we think about it yet.
The mental acceptance, Joseph, I think you're totally right on that, where I've been in an autonomous vehicle. I've had a Tesla do a full self-drive for me from my place here in the city to a friend's place an hour and 10 minutes away in the middle of winter. It pulled out of a parallel parked parking spot. It pulled out, went onto the highway, went to his house in the suburbs, and parked in a spot. There was already cars on the driveway. It parked in the first available spot on his driveway, and then it put itself into park. It made lane
Wow.
changes. I mean, we were holding on for dear life, right? Not dear life in a sense because the car was driving erratically, but dear life because my entire adult life, I've been conditioned to expect a human operator behind the wheel of a
Exactly.
vehicle traveling at
Exactly.
highway
Yeah.
speeds. So I think what you're
Exactly.
saying, which is a broader point that we make with our clients, is the technological implementation of AI is simple, like I mentioned early in this episode. It's the mental perspective and the acceptance for humans to outsource core functions that we have historically done our entire life and being okay with a machine doing it. And it's so interesting. There's like a microscope. One thing that the AI does wrong, it like gets magnified, and
Yeah.
for a good reason, right? We want to make sure that the machines are great. But what about the tens of thousands of other cases where the human judgment call or mistake caused some type of injury or worse, right? So it's just really interesting to see as AI continues to grow inside of the organizations that these businesses operate from, and personally, how quickly are people going to be open to accepting machines doing things that humans have historically done for decades? And I
Yeah.
think that part is going to be the bottleneck for AI adoption, not so much the technology, it's the human acceptance. So it'll be
Yeah.
really interesting to see that.
Yeah, it will be.
Those changes,
So-
though, have happened throughout history, and there's always been a different catalyst that has caused those changes, right? And it could be like, do you imagine the age of the hunter-gatherers when people discovered, you know what, you can plant little seeds into the ground and food can grow from that. And it's like, as a
Like, what?
hunter-gatherer, you're like, I feel
Yeah.
threatened all of a sudden. Because now you can grow your food, you can produce food from the ground just by watching it instead of go running around hunting for animals. And that, change will always feel threatening, but it progresses humanity. It progresses our economies and culture.
Yeah.
The
The
only
first
constant
steam
is
engine.
change.
Yeah,
The only
first steam
constant is
engines. All the
change.
horses are like, what are we
Steam
going to
engines,
do
horses,
now?
cars, tractors, calculators, spreadsheets,
Transistors.
internet, cloud,
Yeah.
transistors.
Yeah,
Change-
I was
And then
watching
the
an
reality too for our customers too is that, or for people listening, you have a choice right now to make, and that is, are you going to stick with the hunter gatherer, or are you going to learn how to grow food and then become, one of the early adopters who implement this before it's necessary, before you
Yeah.
have to have it to compete.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of
Do
the
it well.
questions I was going to ask, is that, for a business owner or maybe a decision maker at a large business that's listening or watching this, what's the cost of waiting to explore getting into this technology? And anybody can respond to that.
Yeah, I think it's opportunity cost of you not doing something. I mean, I guess that's the definition of opportunity cost. It's about if you're standing still in this environment, I think you are going backwards. There are companies that are being born today that are challenging the legacy companies tomorrow. And one of the big enabler here is actually technology. Like I mentioned in my earlier comments, some of the technology before was so cost prohibitive that you couldn't come and compete. You could not do that. You would have to either have a tremendous amount of capital deployed to create something that could be created now at a fraction of cost and a fraction of time. And I think that is really, as a business owner, I challenge you to think through what are the areas that you can advance to be more efficient, but also drive and use better use of your time and your people's time, because that is still going to be extremely important as you consider expanding your business to new frontiers.
So as we get ready to wrap this episode up, I guess I would ask any or all of you to think of somebody that you know of or somebody that we've worked with, anything along those lines, and really leave a parting thought with, if you're not using AI right now, why not? If you have thought about doing it and maybe failed at it, why is that? Or, anything that you might want to just interject to encourage people to check out why this is important for them to get involved with right now.
I think I'd say, if you're interested in quality, better customer service, lowering the bottom line, enabling your staff, and then really elevating the game of your company, now's the time to do it. Now's the time to think through this. So that'd be my encouragement to my parting comment is now's the time to engage and to figure out how to best to leverage AI in your company to give you that competitive edge. And we can certainly help with that. That's what we love to do all day long.
So Sagar, how can they, go ahead, Joseph.
So I'd say that AI creates opportunities, and don't underestimate what might happen. We don't know the future and can't control that, but we've seen historically that when new technologies come, demand actually can increase. Definitely there's going to be efficiencies that are created, probably some job loss, but some job creation. Also that demand is going to increase as well. It's like back in the day of the steam engine when coal was being used. Guess what? Coal got more efficient, got used more and more, and demand actually increased. If you create a bigger highway where more cars can move more quickly, actually more cars get used, and then congestion comes, and then there's that cycle. And I think with AI, it's really similar. The more efficient things become, the more that people can move quickly and that information can be generated and spread more efficiently, the more demand there's going to be that there's going to be. And for a business owner, they can see that there's a lot of opportunity, how your consumer base can actually increase and your market can actually increase because of the greater and increased demand.
Sagar, want to wrap things up here? What's your thoughts? How can people get involved with Spej.ai? How can they connect with us? How can they find out more?
Alex, did you want to go, or do you want me to finish this up? Give you a chance to.
I'll just chime in and say, as we talk about AI, I think the human factor, as we mentioned, is going to remain for some time. And I think what makes us, Spej, very unique is that while we have the technical know-how to do a lot of this, is we also are experts in a lot of respective industries and areas, because you really do need to understand and guide AI as you develop it. When you're a user, it's a little bit different. You should be able to rely on it. You should be able to casually check. But the biggest part and the biggest value add I think we can give you as prospective clients and current clients is really putting our expertise and knowledge in our processes and adopting that with technology toolkits that we have.
So Sagar, as we get ready to wrap things up here, what are some final thoughts from you to those that are watching and listening, that want to find out more, that are taking some of those fears and they're getting them kind of resolved in a way by us talking about the complexities of it, but yet the simplicity of using AI? Talk to them about how to get involved.
It's not hard. I yap about this online every day. Start with a conversation. Get your leadership team in a room, order some lunch, or if it's virtual, get on a Teams call, start a dialogue. And it's got to come from the C-suite. I'm looking at all of you, presidents and CEOs of companies. You are not too busy to outsource this very important dialogue to somebody else on the leadership team. It's got to come from you because it matters. And the way you model AI usage from the top is how it's going to be mimicked in the rest of the organization. So Ken, my parting thought is AI is not complicated. We talked about it in this episode. You don't have to be a tech company. You don't have to have a very complicated and sophisticated internal IT department. You don't have to be technical. You just need to have a curiosity and a willingness to have a dialogue and try something. And if you want us to help you with that dialogue, we'll help you. We'll have a conversation. We'll get people together. It doesn't have to be scary, but it's got to happen. You got to have a dialogue. You can't keep kicking the can down the road. It is 2026. If you're not already having an AI dialogue, you are just continuing to push yourself further and further away from the competition. So have a dialogue, talk about it, figure out what needs to happen to get people on board, and then bring Spej on board so we can help you make that vision a reality.
Yeah, we'd love to have you check out podcasts as we do one each week. You can do that in a number of different ways. You can go to our newly created website. It is PFAL Pod for prompt first, ask later, pod.com, where you can listen or watch the different podcasts that we do. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube, and also Spej.ai is our website where you can start a conversation with us, seeing if AI can help your organization to be more efficient, be more cutting edge, and to get more done in a less amount of time. So we'd love to have you check us out. Guys, thanks so much for joining us on this podcast. Again, it is Prompt First, Ask Later, and we'll see you on episode 3 coming up next week.